Alright, so the next thing we did, we applied the B-side clamps, so this is fully on here now. The next thing to do is that since this is a different mold than was in here previously, there's going to be a different stack height. And your stack height is the difference between here and here. So what we got to do is it's closed now because we moved the carriage, but that's not set in the machine. So what we have to do is set that and how far away that distance is. So what you got to do first, let's close this. Here comes setup. And then you're going to open the mold. Okay. So when we closed it, we didn't know how it looked close to us. So what we got to do also is go back in here and move the carriage back. So you can see, this is moving very slowly, but it is moving away. Alright, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you what that gap looks like. So you're going to go back into setup mode and we're going to close the mold. As you can see here, it's going to come close. And so technically right now, that's where the machine thinks it should be touching. So we have to change that. So how to change that is you fully extend it like it is currently at the time. I like to go back a little bit, so fully extend it and then bring it back just maybe a quarter of an inch or so off the mold, so right about there. And then the next thing to do is take this back out of setup mode. Setup mode, you can run this and hit this button in setup mode, but it goes extremely slow. So take it out, and then you're going to close and bring the carriage. You're going to take it and you're going to, by hitting this button right here, you can bring the carriage, which is back here, and you can bring it close, so where there's maybe a quarter inch between the two plates here. So we're going to bring this forward. Alright, so bring it to about a quarter inch. So now that we have our mold apart about a quarter of an inch, what we have to do is set our settings so that when we bring the mold together, the stack height is correct and our force between that is correct. So what you have to do is come through here and go through the settings. So it's the correct screen. Alright, so this is the normal screen you come to. So this is a very familiar menu. So you're going to come over to the second one from the end, and it shows that it has a 45-ton mold close. So what you got to do is change that value so whatever you need it to be. So I would say 55 is what it was set before, so that's what we're going to set it to here. So you're going to go to cursor change, and then change it to 55, and then hit enter. So now it's at 55 tons. So when it does close, it'll clamp to that force. The thing that's important about this is if you set a clamping force that is, say, 55, and then in your program you say clamp it to 65, it won't be able to do it, and it'll come up with an error saying that mold close is not within tolerance. So the next thing after you set this is simply come down to conversion, press that button, and the next thing is to press this, and at the same time you'll see that this lights up. While holding this, this will light up. You press it, and then you select it again, and you can see up here it says clamping force setting active. So what it's going to do is, if you see in the mold here, it'll start moving back and forth trying to figure out where that is. So it'll mold, it'll get close to it, it'll open up a little bit farther, it'll close, and it's just trying to, it's figuring out how close it needs to be. And also when you look at these numbers, you can see that it's closed and clamped, and it's at 55, which is close to where we set it. So once it's done figure out, the system won't say something active, it'll just go regular screen, and that way you know that your mold height is set. So the way you can check this is by, if should go back to about right where you left it. So there's a little bit of a gap here in your mold. So the way you can check this is by taking off conversion and then simply hitting close the thing without the setup, because setup makes it change without anything. So what you want to do is just close the mold. Go over here, press close the mold, and it should close, and that's the full height at which it's closed. So that should be the full, and then if you look back in here, it says 54 tons, which is the force that we said for the mold to close at. So with that, you're done setting stack height and mold's closing force. Alright, so the next thing you have to do is that with each mold, the nozzle height also has to be changed, just kind of like we did for stack height. The nozzle has to be changed. So in here, you can see that the nozzle's not all the way, hopefully. You can see that the nozzle's not all the way forward. And in this menu right here, we can show you, if you come down to here, so you go through your menu and come down to this is the carriage movement. If you go down here, it says it should be 0.38 away from the center, and where it was there, it was about 1 inch and something. So we have to change, is to make this, when it's all the way against the mold, it should read 0. So what we're gonna do is take it, you can have it in or out of setup mode. You can bring the carriage forward. I'm gonna have it in setup mode for this. You can bring the carriage forward. So right there, that is exactly 1 1/4 away from where it is. So that's actually touching the mold right now. So what you're gonna do to actually set that as your new 0, to make this go to 0, is you're gonna press this, and then you're gonna click this button right here. So at the same time, you're gonna it's kind of a technique, so you're gonna go like this, and click and hold it. And as you can see, I just pressed it, this is 0 now. And that way, you've officially set your nozzle. Come on, Joe.